Fight fam, what it do? Back again with another fight prediction video for you all. We have the much anticipated rematch this weekend between Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn in unfinished business. This fight will be occurring in England. Still going to be at 160 pounds, and there is a 10-pound rehydration clause. The first fight, Chris Eubank won by a unanimous decision, but it was a banger from start to finish. Very entertaining fight, very exciting fight. So I'm going to talk about the stats of each individual fighter, their styles, and what I expect in this next one. And I'm going to be letting you all know my pick to win this fight. So we know about the rivalry between their fathers. That's how this whole thing pretty much blew up. We know about the Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn rivalry, and it's carried over to their sons. Now, I have to say, I watched that first fight again, and both of these guys are gangster. Like, especially Conor Benn. Like, he went up in weight to fight Chris Eubank, but Chris Eubank did not back down. Neither fighter backed down, but I really like Conor Benn's attitude in there because he talks a big game, but he backs it up in the ring, and he's just a mean guy in the ring. So let's look at the record of each individual fighter. Chris Eubank Jr. is 35-3. Conor Benn is 23-1. That one loss coming to Chris Eubank. Chris Eubank is the favorite in this fight. The odds right now on Tapology is -200. Conor Benn is +155. Now those odds are going to vary depending on whatever sports book you're looking at. Chris Eubank is fighting out of Sussex, and Conor Benn is fighting out of Essex, England. Chris Eubank is 36 years old. Conor Benn is 29 years old. As I mentioned earlier, this fight will be at 160 pounds. Last fight, Chris Eubank came in slightly over the weight limit, but the day of the fight, he was good. Just for the weigh-in, he was slightly over. And for the first fight, Conor Benn was under that weight limit, which I'm sure was part of the plan so he could still be able to move and be mobile and not have to sacrifice any speed. So I'll be interested to see what their weigh-ins are for this particular fight. Chris Eubank is 5'11". Conor Benn is 5 feet 8 inches. The reach of Chris Eubank is 72.5 inches, and Conor Benn's reach is 68 inches. So as I mentioned earlier, the first fight was an absolute banger. Chris Eubank took a couple of the early rounds, and then by the time round 3 hit, Conor Benn was throwing some haymakers. He actually made Chris Eubank buckle with an overhand followed by a left hook. Chris Eubank had to hold on to him. I thought he was in trouble. But then you see him starting to talk trash in Conor Benn's ear. So I guess he wasn't that hurt. Now that first fight, it looked like multiple moments where each guy was hurt, but they just kept emptying the tank. And it makes me wonder, can they do that again? Because I feel like that first fight they had was an absolute war. And I'm looking at the age of Chris Eubank. He's 36 years old. So he is getting up there in age. He has 38 fights. So boxing does have a lot of wear and tear on the body. Also noting that I think Conor Benn is getting more comfortable at this weight since this will be his second time fighting at 160 pounds. He's had more time to walk around at that weight and get more comfortable at that size. Now, the first fight, Chris Eubank was landing a jab, but he does have a tendency to drop his hands, and that's how Conor Benn was able to counter him with the right hand. Now, I think it was in Chris Eubank's favor that he was a much bigger man because some of those shots that he was getting hit with, I think most guys would have got knocked out with those shots because Conor Benn was landing clean on him. So I would say for this fight, I would like to see Chris Eubank be more defensively responsible, use his distance more, use his size. He is a bigger guy, but I think the first fight he wanted to prove that he could slug it out with Conor Benn. And I don't think he needs to fight that type of fight because, in my opinion, that's playing in Conor Benn's hands. I think he can box Conor Benn, try to keep him on the outside, and look to attack when he needs to. Now, something I like for this fight is I see Bomac is in camp with Chris Eubank. Now, when they fought the first time, I don't remember seeing Bomac in any videos. I know that was around the time when Terrence Crawford was getting ready for Canelo Alvarez. So I don't know if Bomac was part of his last camp or not. He may have been, and I may have just missed it. If he was, please let me know down below. But my point is, Terrence Crawford doesn't have a fight coming up, so Bomac can be completely locked in with Chris Eubanks. And I think that's going to play a pivotal role in this fight because as long as he listens to Bomac, Bomac has excellent game plans. He's going to tell him to box. Don't get into a war with Conor Benn. Box and then pick your shots wisely and then get out of there, get back to boxing, stick to that jab. Because when Chris Eubank was throwing the jab, he was having tremendous success in the fight. He was able to throw off Conor Benn's timing, and he was able to exchange only when necessary. Now, when they got in tight, Conor Benn was catching Chris Eubank with some great shots. Now, again, I did see Chris Eubank look like his legs got wobbled a couple times, but I just think the size difference may have affected Conor Benn. I don't know if he could knock Chris Eubank out. I know he can hurt him, but as far as knocking him out, I'm not sure about that, especially later in the fight, because when you have such a physically demanding fight like that, it has to play a role in Conor Benn's conditioning and his cardio to where he doesn't have that same pop later on in a fight. Now, what I like from Conor Benn is he had intensity the entire fight. He was throwing power, and he was doing that from start to finish. In the later rounds of the fight, he still was looking to throw power to the body, looking to throw that overhand up top, and he was pressing forward, making it a dirty fight, which I think is going to play in his favor. The more he can get Chris Eubank to exchange, the more Conor Benn is going to have a chance to win the fight because one of those shots could clip Chris Eubank. And if it happens late in the fight, Chris Eubank could be in trouble. I mean, he is 36 years old. That last fight was a war. So he's getting towards the end, I believe, of the boxing career, especially before Father Time starts to creep in. Now, I don't know what type of lifestyle he lives. If he lives a clean lifestyle, then yeah, obviously he probably has a lot left in the gas tank. I'm just going off of what I saw in that last fight where the smaller guy wobbled the bigger guy a couple times. Now, as far as my pick for this fight, I am going to have to roll with Chris Eubank, but honestly, this fight can go either way. And I honestly would not be surprised if we saw a similar situation that happened to their dads when they fought and we see a draw in this fight. But my official pick for this fight is going to be Chris Eubank. I think he will pull it off by decision. I will be looking out for that cut on his eye that he sustained in the last fight because if that cut gets opened up, that could present another problem. But strict pick, I'm going Chris Eubank by decision. I think it will be a majority decision this time. I think one card will have a draw. Other two will be in favor of Chris Eubank. Let me know your thoughts on the fight down below. Who you see winning the fight. And please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, become a member of the channel so I can add you to the Discord where we talk about our fight picks. And I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.